I watched a lot of videos about DEHANCER, and the one thing I found is that I could not find somebody who shot weddings who did a review about it. It was just always like content creators. You know, you have control of your environment, or you decide you're going out at magic hour, you can make this stuff look a certain way because you have the luxury of controlling your environment and all that stuff. But on a wedding day, I don't have that luxury. So being able to have something that's flexible, that's the thing that kind of stuck out to me, and that's why I've considered it as something that I would use. I actually reached out to DEHANCER myself and convinced them to let me do this review because I felt I wanted to share weddings that had a touch of DEHANCER, but not the entire look of the film emulations, because not everybody wants that. Take what you need from it, but don't overdo it. When you first turn on DEHANCER, some of it can be very overwhelming and a bit much depending on your taste. My first advice is to scroll down and disable all workflow effects and build it from there. I'm big on skin tones and like a bit cleaner of an image. I love my contrast. Tools like film compression soften the highlights and midtones a bit to give a little bit of a flatter look to your image. Depending on the image, I add contrast and sharpness, halation, bloom, and film grain to get the film characteristics, but not the dramatic looks that film stock will give. Personally, when it comes to skin tones and colors, I like to use gamut conversion LUTs as a base before I do DEHANCER. It's just been a tried, true, tested LUT that I've used when I was on Sony to get great skin tones. So I kind of start with that conversion LUT as a base just to have the good skin tones and the good colors and the soft highlight roll off. Then I go into DEHANCER, and then I will usually mess with the halation, the bloom, the film compression. And yeah, I just kind of add a little bit of things here and there depending on the wedding. Some weddings are outdoor. You know, I can do a more dramatic effect where it plays into the look, but some of them, it's like I'm in a banquet hall or something like that. So I find it doesn't always work. And that's what I mean when I say, like, take from it what you will depending on what you're shooting. I've consistently used Black Pro mist filters for the last few years to enhance my wedding films and add a touch of mystery and softness to my image just to take the edge off. Now, when it comes down to it, Pro Mist filters are great, but in certain lighting conditions, they're not always ideal to use, especially if your subject is backlit. Filming primarily weddings, I rarely have control over my lighting situation, so taking off and putting on filters on is a bit annoying on a day that's moving at such a fast pace. DEHANCER is good in the sense that you can get that bloom that you get from a Pro Mist filter with the ability to dial in how much of it you want in your image. Ideally, I think it's better to have the ability to not have such a permanent effect that you can customize in case you get a wedding day where the lighting is very harsh. So when it comes to pricing, Pro Mist filters are also not very cheap depending on which brand you get. There's all kinds of different ones. I think if you're gonna get a Pro Mist filter, I would go with the Black Pro Mist filter. I find a lot of Pro Mist filters, they kind of add like the effect, but then it kind of just messes with the contrast of your image. So I find the TIFF and black Pro Mist filters kind of retains your blacks and your contrast, still adding that bloom effect. So if you're buying like 2 to 3 Pro Mist filters, one for each lens, then you kind of run into a situation where you gotta ask yourself, is it cheaper for me to buy all these Pro Mist filters and have to deal with screwing them on, screwing them off throughout the day, or just be able to have the flexibility in post to be able to dial in the effect as much as you want rather than having it just permanently there. Like, I'll say this, during the reception, I don't use Pro Mist filters because depending on the lighting, sometimes it blooms in a way that I just don't want. And especially for that part of the day, do I need the bloom with like normal random lights in the venue? Probably not. So I don't end up using them at that time anyway, and just having to take them off at that time and store them without them getting scratched or damaged is just annoying. So there's that. Okay, so you gotta ask yourself the question, is it cheaper to buy all those Pro Mist filters or just have a lifetime subscription of DEHANCER? Now, you could do the math and decide DEHANCER is a bit more expensive, but then my question to you is, what does your time mean to you? You know, having the ease of use and just the flexibility, what does that mean for you? Personally, I'd rather have something that I can dial in after the fact. And then a few weddings that I have shot over the course of the last few months where I shot with no Pro Mist filter and then just pretty much added DEHANCER to the image to try and get that look that I want. I'm not going to sit here and tell you one's better than the other. I'm going to let you decide for yourself and see in the footage what you think looks better for yourself. If you're a DaVinci Resolve user, then you will have access to the Film Look Creator tool when you purchase the studio version of the software. So I see this question thrown around in YouTube videos. It's that question on, will the Film Look Creator replace DEHANCER? And I'm gonna say the short answer is it's possible, but I'm gonna say no at this point. The main point I want to get across is the difference between these softwares. The Film Look Creator can give you a similar look to DEHANCER, but it lacks the versatility of DEHANCER. Case in point is the amount of film simulations and scans it has. The Film Look Creator at the moment will only give you the Kodak 2383 look as a default, which is a great look that people are familiar with, but if you're a true creative that wants to explore and have options when it comes to the look and mood of your image to drive a story, the DEHANCER is a better option. Although the Film Look Creator has bloom, halation, and film grain, I just find that DEHANCER does all these things better. I tried it on a few weddings recently where I only used the film characteristics of DEHANCER and no film print, and I was really happy with it. I found DaVinci's film grain and halation to be not as good as DEHANCER's. The halation specifically, I find it works for some shots and not others. That may just be an error on my part, but when I'm looking at the bigger picture, the question I ask myself, and I'll ask you too, is what is your time worth to you? Personally, I think DEHANCER currently has a better layout for all the settings that are easy and accessible. The Film Look Creator can do the same thing, but if you're not a pro colorist and want the same result and an easier way of doing it, then I would go with DEHANCER. Just a side note, I've tried the bloom effect in DaVinci and I didn't find it to be as good as DEHANCER's. Could just be me, or maybe I'm not applying it entirely properly, but messing with the bloom in these two clips, I find with a click, DEHANCER just does a better job. Another big trend right now are anamorphic lenses from Blazar and Sirui. Now, why would I bring this up? Because I feel like it's a valid addition to this conversation. Anamorphic lenses give certain characteristics that emulate the film look. A few of them being the softness, chromatic aberration, and possibly bloom depending on which one you go for. The Blazar Remus lenses are known for having distinct characteristics that are making them stand out as an option for narrative filmmakers. These lenses also have barrel distortion, which I think is ideal. The other side is Sirui lenses, which have less of a film look, are more sharp and more clinical, so you get the digital look but still the anamorphic flares and that widescreen look. But this one has pin cushion distortion compared to Blazar Remus's lenses. So anamorphic lenses are great, but there are a few issues with them at the moment. So it's autofocus, focus distance. A lot of them, the focus distance is like 3 feet or might be around that. Like, it's not, you can't get like super close up to things. When I was playing it into my workflow, I'm like, I can't really use these lenses the way I would want to. I feel like in a controlled setting, yes, but at a wedding where things are moving too quick, I just can't see myself using one. Watching a bunch of YouTube videos, I've noticed how many people have complained about the price of DEHANCER. And yes, it is expensive, but so are Pro Mist filters. Aside from the price of Pro Mist filters, they can also have a shelf life on them. If you happen to switch lenses that have different filter threads, another cost-effective option is Film Vision 2, which is like $60 US. I've not personally used this, but my buddy located in Cornwall here, Films by Jeremy, he's a YouTuber as well. He uses that for his wedding films and his content as well, and he's told me good things about it, so I would check that one out too. Personally, the reason I will continue to use DEHANCER in my workflow over ProMist filters and anamorphic lenses is because it eliminates me having to screw on and off ProMist filters. I avoid running into the issue of backlighting issues when it comes to a wedding day because I have more control in post to edit it how I please. ProMist filters could be cheaper than DEHANCER depending on which one you buy, but then it's the question of what is your time and ease of use mean to you. For me, it's priceless, and I hands down love the option to add and take away the effect as I please. When it comes to anamorphic lenses, I don't actually use autofocus when I shoot, but having the option is nice in certain situations, and I know for a lot of other people that matters. So comparing everything I just talked about, I think DEHANCER gives you the option to add and take away distinct characteristics that you'd find in the film look, and the ability to choose is what I'm after. I love the flexibility. There is something to be said about getting something unique from a lens that does something specifically, but I think if you're not trying to jump off the deep end with the film look and want something that gets you halfway there, then DEHANCER is a great option. If you're interested in DEHANCER, I do have a code. If you use it, cool, helps me. If you don't, that's fine too. Honestly, I was going to make this video regardless, but I reached out to DEHANCER just because I was trying to tell them like, hey, I think it would be great to see this used on weddings. So then they gave me like an affiliate code if I did make this video. So just wanted to be transparent about that, but no, I'm not being sponsored, I'm not being paid, and I reached out to them because I believed in the product and I wanted to share it with you guys and share a perspective on it that I wasn't seeing online. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Feel free to subscribe. If you don't, that's cool too, but take care, have a good day. This is Damien. Later.